But in order to understand who Pol Pot is and how he rose to power, we first need to look at the conditions of Cambodia and how those conditions allowed for such a leader to come to power. Cambodia is in Southeast Asia, neighboring Vietnam. Cambodia was a society that was resistant to transformation, and it was a very weak country. So basically, this is a country that refused change. It was geographically compact and demographically dispersed, socially undifferentiated, politically undeveloped, economically undiversified, and educationally deprived. In addition to that, Cambodia was colonized by the French, and as any Cambodian individual, this frustrated Pol Pot. His main aim was to restore Cambodia's glory, but that was already destroyed by the French invaders. He was looking for an ideology, and he believed the answer was communism. So he traveled to France and became a teacher. He lived a double life, just like Hannah Montana. He was interested in Marxism and slowly began to attend party meetings, and later on taught his students about communism. This is when he was really interested in communism and became a member of the French Communist Party. When he returned to Cambodia, he joined the communist movement and began to rise in ranks till he had the most power and became the leader. He renamed Cambodia to the Communist Party of Kampuchea. And in April 17, 1975, a new single-state party took control of Cambodia, which was the Khmer Rouge. Pot's ideology was very similar to Mao and Lenin, so he implemented their radical Maoist and Marxist-Leninist transformation. He was very inspired by Mao's Great Leap Forward economic program in China, so he wanted to try the same thing and declared something called Year Zero, and that he was going to purify society from Western culture, city life, religion, and all foreign influences to create an extreme form of peasant communism. And he wanted to transform Cambodia into a rural classless society where there was no rich people, no poor people, and no exploitation. Of course, with the support of China and Vietnam.
My name's Sokom Chom from Rome, Cambodia. That was a rather happy childhood, although we were not, rich or anything. In 1970, the war came, and then the Khmer Rouge came from the jungles, and we did not know their ideology, and we did not know what they were really about, But they preached to the people, okay, we are for the people. We did the revolution for the people, the poor people. They said that there will be no rich people who exploit you, no rich people abuse you, and we all equal.
In fact, they were never for the people. Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, or the Red Cambodians, set up rules that disregarded human life, and they repressed their own people and massacred them on a massive scale. So in order to achieve this complete totalitarianism, they enforced the most harshest rules. They abolished money, free markets, private property was forbidden, people were not allowed to wear foreign clothing styles, religious practices were forbidden, churches or any form of temple was shut down, public schools and universities were turned into prisons. The most famous one is the S21. They were only allowed to wear black. All foreigners were expelled. Minorities such as the Chinese and the Vietnamese were all executed or evacuated. Medical and economic help was refused. No newspapers. They had no access to the outer world. Television stations were shut down, as well as radios. Bicycles were taken away. There was no such thing as mails and telephones, as well as no education and health care. So basically, Cambodia has been sealed from the outside world. People were forbidden from their basic rights. They were not allowed to go outside, or cooperate, or even gather. If more than 3 people gathered, even whispered, they'd be executed. They were not allowed to show affection, humor, or pity towards their parents or family members. The only person they were supposed to show affection to was Pol Pot. The Khmer Rouge even had a slogan that says, "What is rotten must be removed." And by this they meant that they had to eliminate everyone from the older society, which included the educated, the wealthy, the monks, the police, doctors, lawyers, teachers, government officials, ex-soldiers with their wives and babies, also anyone who was disloyal to the leader. Education had no role in Cambodia, therefore everyone that was intelligent had to go. He evacuated all Cambodian cities. Over 2 million inhabitants had been threatened by guns and were evacuated by foot into the jungle. Over 20,000 died along the way. The people were forced into slave labor in Pol Pot's killing fields, where they either died from overwork, malnutrition, or disease. They were only allowed 1 tin of rice. Work began from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m., with only 2 rest periods during the 18-hour day. Soldiers were eager to kill anyone who disobeyed or tried to run away. Maintaining power did not come from the people's support to the single-state party. They remained in power by spreading fear and using torture as an efficient method. Some were psychological, while others were physical. They had a method where they placed a cloth over the head, obscuring the person's eyesight and limiting the breath. Then water would be poured continuously over the cloth. This gave the person a feeling of drowning. Or sometimes they'd put the person in boiling water, they'd burn them with water, or hold them upside down in water, and so forth. Another method would be baby bashing, and this would cultivate the growth of Cambodia, and also to cow people into obedience. Bashing their babies against trees would kill them. It hurts parents really bad, so it forces them to do as the leader says. Only allowed to worship their leader, as well as anyone who opposed, regardless of age or gender, would be executed. They only had 2 allies outside the country, as I mentioned, Vietnam and China. They could not interact with any other state because they were sealed from the outer world, and nobody wanted to interact with this state because they could not, and they were prevented from helping them. In conclusion, over 2 million innocent people were murdered by the Khmer Rouge.